Well, I guess we are live, right? Yep, looks like it. Um, Guys, 7 o'clock on a Friday night. A little bit different time than what we're used to. First of all, tell me if you guys can hear the audio okay, because I do have the AC on in here, and if I need to, I can actually turn that off. So, real quick before we get started, if you guys could just let me know if you're having any trouble with the audio, if you're having trouble hearing me, and I'm having trouble reading. Um, I'm actually going to try to pull the live stream up over here so that A, I can see your comments, and B, I can see the live feed as it's being broadcast to know what you guys are looking at and if I can see it okay. All right, let me turn my volume down here. Okay, I'm reading y'all's comments, and I totally appreciate the feedback, guys. Yeah, it looks like it's a little loud. Is the AC what's too loud, or is it just my audio here, my voice? You guys could turn the mic up. What if I turn the AC off? I can probably reach it from here. Okay, that should be the AC right there. That's going to make a pretty big difference, I'm pretty sure. So, how about that? That should made a huge difference right there, as far as being able to hear me a little better. All right, good. Okay, guys, we have a ton of stuff to go over. As you know, for a long time we did our live streams. Excuse me, guys. I've been setting everything up here, and I hadn't had a chance to wet my whistle any. We've been doing our live streams at 10:30 p.m. on most nights. As you guys probably know, the flu virus has whipped through the United States of America, and it did not miss my home. I had a little boy with a temperature of 103.8 degrees, and of course mine was around 102.6 last Saturday. So I've been kind of struggling with this thing for a couple of weeks, and I'm finally feeling good again. I feel great, actually. So we want to get these live streams started back again, and the thing is, we've got a lot to go over. Sadly, we have too much to go over, unfortunately. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it all in. I know a lot of times we'll do gun reviews and talk about different things like that on these live streams, but it looks like we're just going to be jam-packed with pretty much all of our current event type information that's going on right now. What I'd like to do is you'll notice, and I don't mean to do this to be rude, but I'm going to be looking over here quite a bit because I do have all of your comments and everything that I can read on screen on my very large screen over here. So if you see me looking over here, I'm not surfing the web. I'm actually monitoring you guys' comments to see anything that I can respond to, because I do like to respond as best I can sometimes. Obviously, what's in the news? The Florida shooting. I would like to take a moment to give my condolences and of course my prayers to the people of Broward County who had to go through this senseless, preventable shooting. And quite honestly, I think most of the people that are on here typically are pro-gun people, so I don't think we're going to have much of this element that I'm concerned with. But if anybody is on here that thinks that because I'm a gun owner that I don't have the right to pray for people who are killed senselessly, they can kiss my ass. I mean, honestly, I'm just trying to be polite here. I know that doesn't seem like it, but no one has the right to tell me, based on what my hobbies are with guns, that because of what I have in my home, that suddenly now I'm not entitled to be able to feel remorse for somebody who is murdered by a whack job. That's not your job or anybody else's to tell me that. So again, if you have a problem with me sending prayers out to people who are murdered, kiss my ass, because I don't have any kind of anything that I can tell you. You're too unreasonable of a person for me to even care what your opinion is. So you can hang around if you want, but I'd rather you leave, to be quite honest, because we don't need you here. I think that people that think like that are not all there. I just don't think you are. I don't think you're a rational person, and I think you have some serious mental issues, and that's really not the kind of person that we want in here. With that being said, I know we're talking about a lot of what's happening down in Florida. Sadly, we're coming under attack again. I don't know if you guys can recollect how long it's been since we have felt this much pressure on the gun community through no fault of ours. It's probably been since Newtown, to be honest with you, Connecticut. What was that, December 2012, I believe that was? That's a long time ago. We're talking about 5 years ago since we felt like this before. Thank God we don't have Barack Hussein Obama as our president right now. Can you imagine the executive orders that we would be dealing with right now if that man were our president, let alone Hillary Rodham Clinton? Can you imagine? We already, I feel like some of my Second Amendment rights are already threatened with Trump in there as president, some of the things that he's saying, and I'm a Trump supporter. So I can't imagine what it would be like if we had a Democrat president in there right now. Anyway, I definitely am concerned with some of the things that I'm seeing right now. And I made a list of some things that, well, I'll tell you what, before we go into all the, and I'm sorry about that, before we go into all the stuff that we had that's being proposed right now, I want to talk about what we know about the Florida shooting, okay? Other than the 17 kids that were unfortunately murdered by some psycho. Okay. I'm one of those kind of reasonable people. It's funny how you hear the left and the gun grabbers say they're looking for common sense or reasonable this or reasonable that, but they never use common sense or reason. If you want to look at a root cause, let's say you want to nail it down to one thing, because the left always wants to nail it down to one thing, even though that one thing is always guns, either an AR-15 or something like that. But it's always as stepping stones to get to gun confiscation or gun bans. They just do. They say, we're not after your guns, but they absolutely are after our guns. So they don't look for a root cause. I look for root causes. I've worked in business. I own my own business now. And anytime something goes wrong, unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say, I don't deal with mass murders. But when something goes wrong in my line of work, I look for the root cause. What caused it? How can I prevent that again? Now, the left will say, we can prevent it by banning guns. Doesn't do it. Doesn't do it. If you want to focus just on the AR-15, there's 8 million of them out there. Stop making them today. And there's still 8 million of them out there. 8 million AR-15s. Which, by the way, there's absolutely nothing wrong with an AR-15. I saw this idiot Geraldo Rivera on Fox News this morning basically trying to punk AR-15 owners by saying that you're trying to be like Rambo and nobody hunts with an AR-15. This guy said nobody hunts with an AR-15. I hunt with an AR-15. I did it multiple times last year. That's my preferred weapon to hunt with. As you can see, I've got other rifles in here that I could hunt with. I prefer the versatility of an AR-15. So anyway, I'm kind of digressing a little bit. There's so much going on that has just enraged me in the last week, guys. As ADD as I am, I'm going to fly off on tangents during this hour, and I totally apologize to you guys for doing that because I'm notorious for doing it, and this is a bad week for me. There's just too much going on. So anyway, I look for a root cause. I look for the reason. If I got to nail it to one thing, give me one reason why. You guys know. You all know because you're all reasonable people. The FBI, if they would have done their job, do your job. Just do your job. If the FBI had done their job, are you kidding me? They get a complaint so specific that they tell them this guy might shoot a school up and they don't act? Are you kidding me? And nobody gets fired. Only the government can let 17 kids get mowed down in cold blood. Nobody gets fired. Nobody gets reprimanded. Welcome to the government. Welcome to a government job. Dude, I need a government job. Not that I could ever live with myself being that much of a screw up, but come on, man. We all have a bad day every now and then. All your bad days just get washed away. Can you imagine all the stuff that no one gets reprimanded for in the FBI if nobody gets reprimanded for letting 17 kids get murdered? Can you imagine the crap that goes on in the FBI that nothing happens to anybody? Because believe me, that's setting the bar pretty high. If you're going to allow 17 kids to get murdered, a lot can happen in your organization bad and nobody gets in trouble if that's the bar that you set for allowing no one to get in trouble. Come on, man. That's the cause. Look, if you want to take the blame away from the kid who pulled the trigger, because that's what everybody wants to do. Nobody wants to blame the kid. But look, let's take him out of that. Let's say, all right, this kid was deranged. How could we have stopped this? You know what? Making the legal age to purchase a firearm, an AR-15 at 21 would not have prevented that. You don't think this kid would have found one of the 8 million other AR-15s out there? You don't think he would have found a handgun? You don't think he'd have gone to a pawn shop and bought one? I know the age limit for that is 21 also. I get that. You think there's a lot of AR-15s out there. There's a whole lot of handguns out there. Or a shotgun. Now, I know by me saying or a shotgun, just like the Florida governor, Chris Christie, or not, whatever Christie or whatever his name is. I forget what the guy's, I'm sorry. I know it's not Chris Christie. The Florida governor came out today. All guns, handguns, AR-15s, long guns, shotguns. If you want to buy a gun in the state of Florida, you got to be 21 years old. All right, fine. Do you know? Now here again, everybody's going to say, let's just make it all 21 across the country. Okay, wacko drives over to Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina. He drives to a neighboring state where the age limit is 18 to 20, or above 18 or older, to purchase a firearm, and goes and buys his AR-15. Yeah, again, I know what the gun grabbers are saying. Oh, well, if that's the case, then we need to make it nationwide. No, we don't. That doesn't solve anything. My point is, that might slow something down, but this kid bought his AR-15 a year. Was it a year? 6 months ago? That doesn't change anything. You think if you give a 19-year-old kid a 6-month head start to find a firearm, and you tell him the only thing standing in his way is he's got to be 21 years old, you don't think he's going to find somebody? You don't think he's going to get on Craigslist, go down to the neighbor, go down to the gun range. You go down to the local gun range. Hey, guys, anybody got an AR-15? You see what I'm saying? It doesn't change anything. Or, worse, he goes down to the ghetto, and this kid gets it illegally, buys one that's already stolen. Again, do you really think that a future mass murderer is really trying to follow the law? Do you think he's worried about buying a stolen gun? Do you think he cares if he's even got serial numbers that are scraped off or scratched off of the firearm? No, he doesn't care about that. But that's not the cause. If this kid would have bought a tank, and had it loaded for bear, if the FBI would have acted on that most accurate tip that they got, they would have stopped this little wacko. Now, if the FBI does their job, none of this happens. We're not talking today. We're not having this conversation. Do you realize, those of you that are on here, and I'm sorry, I'm not watching your stuff online. I apologize for that. I'm talking to the camera here. You know, do you guys realize that this kid, the complaint that the FBI got, it was not last year. It was last month. Last month. This idea was fresh in this kid's head. Now, look, I'm not saying the FBI is useless, because I will tell you this much. The local FBI field office, who I don't know anybody there in Broward County, probably is chock with great guys. I have very little respect for the core unit of the FBI in Washington, D.C., just because right now they seem just a little bit more sidetracked in trying to get Trump out of office than they do trying to do their actual jobs. This is a perfect example. How does the main complaint come into Washington, D.C., and everybody is so busy? Let me ask you this. What was so busy the day the complaint came in that this young man may go shoot up a school? What was so important that day? What was going on that made them so busy that they said, hey guys, I got a potential school shooter over here. I ain't got time for that. Don't have time for that. I'm busy. What were they doing? What were they doing that made them so busy? Are they really that short-handed? If they're that short-handed, then quit chasing all of these hackers in Russia that all they did was make Facebook posts. Who cares? If you're looking at Facebook to decide who you want to vote for anyway, you're somewhat of a loser. You should have your mind already made up. Facebook isn't made out there to give you and disseminate information to help you decide who to vote for president. That's a way more important decision than to be going to Facebook. So if that's the worst we got, from the FBI in terms of Russia and Trump, then give it a rest. I have an idea. Let's focus on mass murderers. Let's try that. Let's try following up on some leads when somebody says, this kid may go shoot a school up. How do you dismiss that? Honestly, guys, what was more important that day? What could possibly have been more important than this guy going, okay, I got a note here. This kid may shoot up a school. All right, hey guys, you want to go grab something to eat? Cool. Hey, I'm going to get back to this when I get back. And then he gets buried. How is that not the number one priority of your day? How can that possibly be not the number one? How can you not say, excuse my French, oh shit, and drop everything and call somebody and say, get on this kid? There's no way you can tell me they get that many complaints in a day about kids potentially shooting up a school. No way you're going to convince me of that. That was a serious misstep. That was the problem. Now, we're not letting the FBI off the hook because they're the ones that could have prevented that. Not maybe. They are the ones who could have prevented 17 children from being murdered. But let's move on to Broward County. This cocky ass sheriff over there that wants to act like he's almighty. This guy is perfect. He's Billy Badass. He was the one that he's mad at his resource officer, which I totally agree with that. But he's acting like, yeah, any of us that would have been there, we would have stopped that. Look, this guy is a failure in himself, the sheriff over there. I feel bad for him because he's got a lot going on, and I do not wish what he's dealing with on anybody, whether it's the mayor or sheriff or anybody. And I don't care how anti-gun and horrible of a person they are. They don't deserve to have to go through that. Nevertheless, this guy's a jackass. This guy wants to blame everybody else, including guns. Remember, this is the one that said, if gun laws stay like this in Florida, you're going to be voted out. Well, guess what, Sheriff? If you want to change all these gun laws and infringe on people's Second Amendment rights, you're going to get voted out. How about that? Liberal sheriffs don't last very long. Now, liberal police chiefs do because they're appointed. But liberal sheriffs, no, they don't last very long because they cover a whole county or a parish, which includes urban areas. This man's not going to stay in office very long, not after what he said and what he's done. But his head needs to be on the chopping block right now because 39 times his department was called to this little scoundrel, this little coward who killed these people. 39 times. 39 times he was called to this kid's house. Now, I get that it may be false alarm twice, maybe 3 times. You say, that's just somebody complaining. That's just the neighbors being kind of funny. That's just, they don't like the kid. 39 times? You actually went there 30 times. You thought enough of whatever the call was or whatever the threat was to go the 30th time, the 31st time, the 32nd time. You thought enough of it to go then. And you never did anything. And let me tell you something, Mr. Sheriff of Broward County. You want to act like Mr. Tough Guy? You want to talk about guns? If you would have done anything, and the state reported something to the NICS system at the federal government, at the FBI in Virginia, or I think it's in West Virginia, if y'all would have reported anything about this kid to where it could have gone into the NICS system, you could have prevented this kid from buying an AR-15. So you want to badmouth the AR-15 and you want to badmouth legal gun owners out there, but you yourself, your department, could have done something, some input to the NICS system to prevent this kid from being able to purchase a firearm. Blood on your hands, Big Daddy. You want to blame everybody else that's a gun owner? Blood is on your hands. You want to sit here and act all high and mighty whenever you and your department did nothing to stop this shooting. Not to mention the coward that you had stationed at this school who hid from the shooter for 5 minutes while he was blasting kids and blowing their heads off in the school, and your own employee did nothing. Don't give me this about guns. Now, that brings us to the resource cop. We made a post on our Facebook page, excuse me, I think yesterday or today. I don't remember when it was. Days are running together right now. And I actually got some blowback from it. I made a post about the resource officer who was there, who hid outside the building while these shots were going on. First of all, do not tell me that I don't know all the facts. I do know firearms. And I know that I can be standing outside of an indoor gun range that has the walls and the ceiling and the floor and everything else soundproofed so that everybody doesn't hear every single report outside the building, and I can hear when an AR-15. When a 5.56 is being fired without a suppressor inside one of those buildings, I can hear it. I can hear it from the street. There was no soundproofing in this building that this kid was shooting in, and this resource officer, do not tell me he didn't hear it. Do not tell me that. But I got blowback from on our Facebook page today from some lady saying that I didn't know the situation, that this guy was probably standing outside the building. He was probably contemplating whether or not he should go in there because he has a family. And he was probably thinking about his family. Let me tell you something. When you take a job, any job, you have to be thinking about worst case scenario. If I took a job working for a sewer plant, I've got to realize that at some point I could be elbow deep in raw sewer. I got to be thinking about that in the back of my mind. What's the worst thing that could happen to me at this job? You got to be thinking, if you're a police officer, number one, just a police officer. This guy worked for the Broward County Sheriff's Department. It's not like the school hired him. This guy worked for the Sheriff's Department. So when the Sheriff's Department hires you, first thing in your mind is gotta be, I might get shot at one day. You got to be thinking about that. If you were legitimately going to take a position with a police department or sheriff's department or state police, FBI, whoever, you got to be thinking, there might come a day when I get shot at. Can I shoot back? Can I defend myself? Can I engage that killer? Take that one step further. When you take that job as a resource officer, if you're such a lazy ass that you took that job because you thought it was going to be a cake job and you could sit on your butt all day and that you would probably never encounter any kind of danger, you were the wrong person for the job and you're sorry for taking the job. I don't apologize for that. You're sorry for taking it. Your job is to protect children and you hid outside like a fat coward. That's bullcrap. Do not give me this guilt trip that somehow or another I'm the bad guy for talking about a guy who took a job to protect children and could have saved lives. Not maybe. He could have saved lives. Oh, you people from the left out there that want to talk about how we're glad he didn't shoot because more kids would have got killed. You are stupid. You're stupid. If you honestly believe that, you are a stupid human being. In fact, I'm glad you don't own a gun. You're too stupid to own a gun. If that man, okay, this kid, and I'm going to call him kid because I'm not going to say the fool's name. If this kid would have been engaged, all it would have taken was one bullet. And you know what? This guy's not Rambo. This guy is not John Rambo, the kid, the shooter. He's not going to roll on the ground and come back up and shoot at you. There's no telling how many shots he actually missed. It's very seldom tactical badass killers, snipers or Green Beret. Green Beret. That's not usually who's doing these school shootings. In fact, it never is. These are people who are not very proficient with their weapons. This resource cop could have probably fired a shot in the air and this kid would have dropped his gun and ran. But to hide outside for at least 4 minutes of the shooting and wait, you, sir, are a coward. You are a coward. If you were thinking about your family, that is a thought and a conversation that you should have had with yourself before A, you took a job with the Broward County Sheriff's Department, and B, before you decided to go into a school and give 3,000 children a false sense of security that you were going to be there to protect them. Because that's what you did. You made every child inside that school feel safe, and they were not. You gave them a false sense of security, and there are now 17 children dead because you were a coward and you did not act. So don't give me this crap that I'm the bad guy because I have a problem with somebody taking a job that they didn't follow through on. That is not a job like a milkman or a mailman or some guy doing accounting that sloughs off on his job. You're going to tell me that if you see a cop driving down the road and suddenly another person jumps on somebody else and starts beating the crap out of them, then if that cop drives off, you're going to say, hey, he's probably thinking about his family. He didn't want to get involved there because he might have gotten hurt. Bull crap. That's your job. Don't take the job if you can't do it. So Broward County Sheriff, this guy's got a lot of explaining to do. You know, let me tell you something. In jobs like that, it takes a lot for somebody to fire somebody, lay somebody off, or whatever. In fact, I believe the guy was part of a union, because I remember I've seen the union representative from that area spoke out against the resource officer too, saying that he should have gone in and done something. So understand this: it's impossible to get fired. You can't get fired. It's especially if you're union. It's almost impossible to. This sheriff gave that resource officer time off without pay because he's scared of his job. He knows his butt is on the line. He knows the things that he has said has put him at odds with pro-gun people, and he knows that him hiring and placing an unqualified person at a school with 3,000 children at it, that's on him also. That's on him also. That's his employee. This guy's worried about his job, the Broward County Sheriff, and he should. I don't think he's going to make it another term. Let me move on a little bit, guys. I know I digress on that. I'm telling you, this has been a rough week. Between being sick and so aggravated with all the stuff that's going on with this shooting, you know, we're not allowed to grieve when something like this happens because we own guns. That's one of the most frustrating things in the world. I'm not going to go back into that. That's so frustrating to me. You know, I'm not allowed to be a human being because I happen to love firearms. Wow. What stupid people we have out there in this country at very, very high levels. That's amazing to me. Okay. We're about 25 minutes in here. You guys are probably getting tired of me talking about this. One of the things that I'm seeing proposed, let's go through some of the things that we're seeing proposed right now. Okay. Rick Scott, that's his name, Governor Rick Scott. He has now stated that in the state of Florida that no one under the age of 21 years old will be able to buy a long gun, shotgun, rifle, AR-15, or handgun. I would like to talk a little bit about that. I did an interview with NPR yesterday. Yes, NPR, the liberal NPR out of Washington, D.C. I am the only pro-gun person that they have interviewed in one whole week. Everybody else they're talking to are anti-gun people. So I get on there and I'm talking to them. One of the first things this woman asked me, who's interviewing me, Mary Louise Kelly, might be her name. I think that's her name. One of the first things she asked me, because I immediately started off talking about the Constitution, and they edited my comment out, my full comment out, because what I told her was, when she started talking about the Second Amendment, if it applied, how does the Second Amendment not apply? It applies from border to border. There's not a time when it doesn't apply. It always applies. It's the Second Amendment. It's the frickin' Constitution, the Bill of Rights. It does not have a timer on it. It doesn't, when the sun goes down, it doesn't stop applying. So she's talking to me about when it applies, and she says, would there be a time when you could see rolling back the Second Amendment and maybe trying something else? And I'm paraphrasing because I'm not sure the exact words of what she said. Yeah, I'm assuming this lady is an American. She is suggesting to me that maybe we should roll back the Second Amendment and try something else. I told her absolutely not. Now, the rest of my answer that they cut off, either because they really felt like my answer was not important or it wasn't relevant to the conversation. But I thought it was relevant to the conversation because what I told her was, with her being in media and on the radio, I told her when you start messing with one amendment of the Constitution, you open it up to mess with all of them. Like the First Amendment, like the Fourth Amendment. Do you want people invading your privacy? Fourth Amendment's going to apply there. Do you want people to not allow you to speak out on your little radio show? That's the First Amendment right there. Oh, but you don't want to mess with those. I get it. So you want to unravel the Second Amendment, but leave all the other ones in place. That's what you're saying. So your amendments, you'd like to keep them like they are. But mine, you want to unravel. I see. Okay. Well, I should be used to that because that's how liberals think. Liberals think they have rules that apply to everybody out there as long as it's their rules that they're okay with. But no other rules, if they don't like, should ever apply to them, even if they're law or anything else. Hence, um, illegal immigration and things like that. They like everything else that you want to do that's gonna keep things in place. But whenever they're going to benefit from something, oh, suddenly that rule shouldn't apply to them anymore. So anyway, she goes on to ask me about the some kid she had on there from the school, from the whatever the school is in Broward, the school that got shot up. Some kid was on there and he was like, "Oh, I turned 18 yesterday, or the day after the shooting, and I'm angry that I can go out and buy an AR-15." You know what? I don't feel sorry for that kid. For one thing, actually, I guess I do, because either he's stupid or his parents are stupid, because he's saying stupid things. So don't give me, "Oh, Paul, you're being so insensitive. This poor kid, he just witnessed a shooting." Let me tell you something. Tragic events do not give you the rights to be an asshole and to try to limit my constitutional rights. And that's one of the things that this lady asked me after she played the audio of this kid saying, "I'm angry because I could buy an AR-15 the day after the shooting." She asked me if my rights, if my Second Amendment rights somehow or another trumped his rights to be safe. You've heard that before. They always try to play that. Let me give you the perfect answer to shut up a liberal whenever they ask you that. Let me give you the answer that will shut them up in a heartbeat, because she didn't play my answer. That's why I know it bothered her. You know what I told her when she asked me if my Second Amendment rights somehow or another trumped this kid's right to public safety or to life? I told her that his rights don't, how did I say it? His rights don't trump my rights any more than my rights trump his. So don't try to guilt me into thinking that that kid's rights, first of all, I know he's not educated properly. So clearly he's not thinking with a straight mind. But his rights will never trump mine, just like mine don't trump his. So the fact that I can purchase a firearm doesn't mean that he doesn't have the right to life. He's still got the right to life. How stupid are you? Do you honestly think because I buy a gun, suddenly this kid now doesn't have the right to live? How stupid is that? So anytime somebody asks you, "Oh, does your right to own a gun trump somebody else's right to life?" you flat out tell them that nobody else's rights trump mine, just like my rights don't trump anybody else's. That's bullcrap. Do not let people guilt you into saying something stupid to cave into their story. Well, guess what? She didn't play that. That never made it into the interview. Never made it into it. Because she didn't like the answer. It didn't fit with her agenda. But let me get back to the 19-year-old part. People ask me, "Oh, well, wouldn't that just solve all the problems if you somehow or another didn't allow this 19-year-old to buy an AR-15? No, you know what? If the FBI had done their job, that would have solved the problems. That I can prove you. You know what? That's something that I actually can guarantee. I can actually guarantee if the FBI would have acted on the very valuable and accurate tip that they had, that they could have prevented this shooting. But you know what? You cannot guarantee to me that if this kid was not allowed to purchase a firearm because he was only 19, you cannot guarantee to me there wouldn't have been a shooting. Can you honestly do that? I can emphatically sit here and tell you that the FBI could have prevented this, but you cannot tell me that him being 19 and not being able to purchase an AR-15 would have prevented that. You cannot tell me that. You can't do it because you can't make that kind of a guarantee. There's 799,999 other AR-15s out there. You can't tell me that he wouldn't have done. For that matter, his neighbor may have had a shotgun. Let me ask you this. You want a kid going into a school shooting with a shotgun? I mean, you want to pick your poison here? I know what the liberals are worried about. Body counts mean a lot to them. When there's a school shooting, if there's only one or two kids, not really a big deal. Honestly, the left doesn't say anything about it. They're like, not really enough for me to care. Don't need to get the posters out. Not really a big deal. Need that body count to come up. Need that body count to come up for me to care, because I really don't care right now, because clearly they don't care about shootings. Look at Chicago. They really don't care about shootings. I can say this as sure as I'm standing here. Democrats do not care about people getting killed. They don't. However, when that body count starts to rise, now the Democrats care. Now I can sell a T-shirt now. I can get an extra vote. That's a great bumper sticker. 17 kids? Yes, we got something now. We got something. Let's move on this. 17, bam. Been waiting for this since Newtown. The liberals are sick individuals. They're sick. And you're not going to tell me that they care about these kids in this school. I do not believe that. I think some of them probably care about people in general. But here's a perfect example. If a gas line would have blown up in this school and killed 17 kids, would any Democrats have cared? Would any Democrats have said, we need to have some federal regulations on checking gas lines that go into schools? We need to make sure that gas lines we need new laws that dictate what size gas line goes into school. We need to have inspections once a month to make sure there's no improper pressure in a gas line going into a school. No. You wouldn't have heard a thing. You wouldn't have heard a peep out of these people. You know why I know that? Do you remember the guy who ran over all the people? Was it New York? Ran over all the people up there. You heard a little bit about that for 2 or 3 days. Then the guy got, a little bit of it goes away. I think they captured the guy or whatever. I don't even remember all the details. I don't remember the details because the media didn't dwell on it. It was not a big deal to them. Because if there's any kind of a murder that doesn't, or like a mass murder, the left only cares if it involves a gun. So I go back to the left doesn't really care argument. If they really cared about human life, every kind of murder would disgust them and have them outraged. And they would be calling for a new regulation of some sort every time there was some kind of a mass murder. And their definition of a mass murder is like 2 or more, which is preposterous to think that that's considered a mass murder. But anyway, that's what they care about. They care about body count, and they care if a gun was involved. And buddy, when an AR-15 is involved, that's gold for them. That is gold. It's like go into the filing cabinet, get everything out. It's showtime. That's what they care about. Going back to the 19-year-old, and guys, I know, look, y'all got to deal with my ADD, especially on a week like this. I know I'm going on 100 different directions, but it is what it is. I will tell you this, 19 years old. Okay, I'm watching these coached kids. I do not believe that these kids that are getting up in front of the camera and being coached on CNN, I don't think they're crisis actors like you're hearing some of the conspiracy theorists saying out there. I truly don't believe that. I really don't, because I've seen enough proof that shows that these kids truly did go to that school. I do believe these kids are legitimate kids going to this school. What I will argue until the day is long, and I don't care who wants to debate me on this, they are being coached. These are kids that a day earlier, you couldn't make them pick up dirty socks and underwear off the floor. You couldn't have them remember to pick up their lunch money as they went out the door. You couldn't get them to stop smoking weed long enough to do their homework. And now all of a sudden, these brave kids are somehow coordinating these chartered buses to go to Tallahassee the next day or within days of the shooting. They're arranging these massive speaking engagements, and they have all these very well-versed words that just so happen to be the exact same things that we hear the left say anytime there's any kind of a shooting tragedy. We hear these kids regurgitating the same thing. They don't get these original thoughts. Again, these are kids that you have to make go to school. These are kids that are more concerned with somebody knocking over their bong and spilling their bong water than they are with human life. They don't care about that. They're too worried about who's got the newest cool pair of tennis shoes on, who's got the coolest haircut. Let's go pick on so-and-so. You know, the kid who did the shooting was probably picked on by every kid at that school. He was probably ostracized by every kid at that school who's standing up and acting all high and mighty right now in front of these cameras and doing all the work of the left right now and regurgitating all their talking points, I will guarantee you some of those kids, because they all joke about, oh, we joked about how he could have been the next school shooter. Let me tell you something. And I'm not taking up for the kid that killed everybody. I hope he gets a death penalty and rots in hell. If you pick on a kid and you put the idea in his head, ha ha ha, there comes so-and-so, he's going to be the next school shooter. Or you tell him he's going to be the next school shooter. And you pick on him. You make him an outcast. The kid obviously had social issues. Clearly he had mental issues, because you don't go shoot up a school if you're not a little off in the head. But these kids, I guarantee you, picked on him to no end. They hardened him enough to where it didn't feel bad to him to go shoot that school up. If he just wanted to kill people that day, why didn't he just go down to the mall and shoot people? Why didn't he just go outside in front of his house and shoot people? No, he went to the high school because he's probably been getting harassed and ragged on by those kids at that school, and probably teachers as well. Teachers are not immune to bullying kids. Teachers do it too. I remember seeing it in school. Teachers would cling to the cliques, to the cool kids, and they would frown on and make little smart remarks behind the uncool kids' backs to the cool kids. Teachers are just as guilty as bullying these kids as the kids are, and forming these cliques and staying part of these cliques. The teachers do it too. Teachers are taking the easy way out. Some of these teachers are taking a teacher's degree because it's an easy thing for them to do. They're not the best and the brightest out there. So I put some of the fault on the kids at that school that are sitting up there acting high and mighty, because they are ostracizing these kids out there. Look, I graduated in 1986. I was a poor kid in a rich community. I went to school with Chuck Taylors on my feet when everybody else had Nikes and New Balance and all these other fancy running shoes and all that. I went to school with Tough Skins on when everybody else had Levi's on. I had the real pretty colored pants. They came in green, red, brown, blue, you name it. The Tough Skins came in all those colors. When my pants got holes in the knees, I got them big giant patches on the knees. My point to you is, I've seen the side of bullying. Luckily, I guess I was witty enough in my class to where I didn't get totally bullied. In other words, there wasn't like a group of kids that would constantly bully me. But I would walk past some of the rich kids that would make little smart comments about the way I dressed. I couldn't help that. I was in a poor family. It wasn't my fault. Didn't stop these kids. These kids knew that. They knew I didn't want to dress in old clothes and holy clothes and stuff like that. But they still made smart aleck comments like that because they didn't care. It was cool to bully somebody. It needs to stop being cool to talk about kids and ostracize them in school, guys. That's part of the problem right there. It'll never come out that anybody from this school, all 3,000 kids, it will never come out about them bullying this kid and making fun of him and saying little smart aleck comments about him. But I'm going to tell you, for all the kids that came out and said, I'm not surprised, he seemed like a school shooter. He seemed like the kind of guy that would shoot up a school shooter. You don't think that they're smarting off to him and making comments to that kid when he was going to that school? You don't think they were saying little things to him? Loser, stuff like that? Again, I'm not blaming the kids for this wacko shooting up the school, but sometimes you can help a little bit by spotting a person that might be having some trouble. Spot them. Realize he's an outcast. Realize that he didn't choose to be an outcast. And maybe tell a teacher, hey, I think so-and-so over here's got a little bit of a problem. He seems like he's a little bit off. Nobody's talking to him. Or I saw a group of kids picking on so-and-so. He seems like he's just, not right. I think something's wrong. Maybe somebody needs to go talk to him. Maybe go tell the coach, who seemed like a really stand-up guy, hey, coach, can you go talk to so-and-so? I'm not saying that they're the reasons for it, because, again, I'm going back to the FBI. FBI is who I'm putting this on, and then Broward County Sheriff's Department. My point is, it was hard for me to be a kid growing up in 1986 and younger. I cannot imagine what the pressure is like to be a young person from junior high going into high school today. I think elementary school is a little bit on the safe side because the kids hadn't turned into complete assholes yet. But boy, by junior high and high school, I cannot imagine how hard it is, because social media makes everybody have to be a rock star. You got to be better than everybody else. You got to have more likes than everybody else on your videos and your pictures and all that kind of stuff. It's got to be impossible to be a young child, a kid growing up in today's day and age. That's tough. That's tough. You know, that's I just can't imagine the kind of weight. And you know what? Hey, look, the left is going to hate me for saying this. The next school shooter is out there. The next school shooter is being made fun of today. The next school shooter is out there crying for help. The next school shooter is out there torturing a cat right now. The next school shooter is out there throwing rocks at somebody's house. The next school shooter is out there dropping cinder blocks off of interstates on the cars passing below. They may not be saying, help me, but through their actions, they're saying, I don't know what to do. I'm misguided. They're acting out because things just aren't right for them. They don't fit in. There's not a place for them. Again, guys, I'm not making excuses for the wacko. I hate to keep repeating that. But I have to believe that these schools are not very kind to the outcast kids. And if you can just report that kid before he does anything like that, which, what am I saying? The kid was reported time and time again. So what am I saying? 39 times visits to the house. You know what? Maybe the kids in the school did do their job. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. Maybe the kids in school did exactly what they were supposed to. Maybe kids in school were, and I'm not being facetious, I'm being honest here. Maybe the kids in school were constantly reporting that this kid seems a little off. Maybe somebody ought to check on him. That coach that jumped in the way of those kids, hey man, he might have approached this kid. Said, look man, what's the problem? Is there something we can do to help you out or whatever? Obviously, this other kid whose family he was living with, they thought enough of him to take him in. So you know what? Maybe I'm being a little too hard on the kids. Maybe enough of the kids did think enough to say, hey, something's not right here. Now, I don't think enough of them tried to take him in, and I'm not saying to go hug every kid that's having a problem. That's just not my style. I wouldn't have done it either. But, I don't know. Maybe they did do what they were supposed to do. Maybe the Broward County Sheriff's Department is just that bad of a department that 39 times kids were trying to bring it to their attention that this kid had a problem, and 39 times the Broward County Sheriff's Department just ignored it. It's possible. I mean, if the rest of their sheriff's department is anything like the coward that was standing outside the school allowing the 17 kids to get murdered, then obviously they got some personnel issues over there. So it's hard for me to imagine that it's just the sheriff that's an idiot and the coward that was the resource officer. So yeah, clearly it's probably some other people. Okay, again, guys, I go off on a tangent. And I apologize. I'm going to stick to it this time. You're telling me that you don't want a 19-year-old kid to purchase an AR-15, or actually in Florida, anything right now, because they're changing that. Okay. But you're also telling me, the liberal media, that these kids who are out there rah-rah-rahing and repeating all of your anti-gun talking points, you're actually telling me, oh, look how brave they are. Look how mature they are. Look at this. They're 16-year-old kids that should be governing the country right now because they're more mature than our legislators. They're smarter than our legislators. Look how mature they are. Look at these 16-year-olds. They're like grown-ups. Which is it? Which is it? Are they too immature to purchase a firearm until they're 21? Or are they so dang mature at 16 that they should be governing the country and changing constitutional laws? Which is it? You got to pick a side here. They're either brilliant and mature or they're stupid and immature. Pick a side. Pick a side. And I'm going to tell you more on what I think on that. The argument that I was asked on NPR radio yesterday. So you're saying that this kid is mature enough to purchase an AR-15 but not mature enough to buy a beer? Okay, let me explain something to you, stupid. You can go purchase an AR-15, and many people do, to protect your family. You don't buy a beer to protect your family. You know why you buy a beer? To get drunk. Or to get a buzz. I'm not drinking a beer right now because I don't want a buzz. So I'm drinking water. To equate buying an AR-15 to buying a beer is absolutely excuse me, I can't even say it, it's so stupid. It's absolutely stupid. It's stupid. You drink a beer to get drunk, you buy a gun to defend yourself, or as a hobby, or as a competitive shooter. The goal of drinking is to get a buzz and get drunk. You cannot tell me that's 100%. That's not some people are drinking a beer to get a buzz. If you don't want a buzz, you don't drink a beer. So 100% of people who are drinking are doing so to get a buzz. Not some, not maybe. We can put them all into that same category. All of them drank a beer to get a buzz. So, but you're telling me by the same reasoning that everybody who bought an AR-15 who was 19 did it to shoot up a school? Are you that stupid? Come on, man. These are adults that I'm talking to that are telling me this. Are they not just thinking their stuff through? Or do they really think pro-gun people are this stupid that we're not going to think it through? Because equating buying an AR-15 by a 19-year-old to a 19-year-old drinking, that you can't even put those two things in the same stratosphere, let alone in the same story. They don't even belong together. Let me take that a step farther. Okay, you know how our schools now teach kids whenever they're in first, second, third grade how to put a condom on? You know how we do that these days? You know how some of these schools are teaching middle schoolers about anal sex? Sorry guys, it's the truth. They're doing it. I wasn't taught that kind of stuff when I was younger. That's not the kind of things I learned in school. But the public school system seems to think these days that it's okay to teach kids about sex whenever they're in elementary school and middle school. It's okay to teach them how to put a condom on when they don't even know what a condom's for. They think it's okay to teach kids about anal sex when they're in 6th grade. So, the byproduct of that is all these kids are having kids as kids. So here's Billy over here. He's 19 years old, 20 years old, under the age of 21. He has a pregnant 17-year-old, or let's say he has a pregnant 18-year-old. Let's make it perfectly legal for politically correct sake. So Billy's 19 and he's got an 18-year-old pregnant girlfriend. Because the school system taught them how to have sex when they were in 6th grade. So they've been practicing it for a little while. They have their baby. Mom is pissed off at the girl because she got pregnant young. The kid, Billy's parents are assholes and he didn't want to move in there and try to raise a family. So they go into Section 8 housing or low-income housing somewhere because they can't afford, he doesn't have a job because he's still in school and so is she. So now they're living in government housing. Not exactly the safest place in America to live. Now, I'm not painting a picture that doesn't exist out there because you know damn well, even if they're together, that's kind of a big accomplishment. It's usually going to be the single mom having the kid at 18, 19 years old and living on her own. But let's just say Billy's man enough to still stay with his girlfriend and the baby. Now, Governor Rick Scott in Florida just told Billy, I know you're 20 years old, Billy, but I'm not going to let you protect yourself. Go live in your low-income housing. That's not safe. Where you can buy crack 2 doors over. You can get a prostitute if you go upstairs and to the left. But I'm not going to let you protect yourself. You know why? Because a kid shot up a Broward County school back in February. And because of that, I don't think you should be able to purchase a firearm of any kind. Because I just passed a law to where you can't buy a handgun, a shotgun, a rifle, anything. You can't buy anything till you're 21. So I'm going to take your Second Amendment right to defend your family away from you until you turn 21. How's that sit with you guys? What if that were your grandkid? Don't think I'm making some kind of hypothetical situation up that doesn't exist, guys. It's out there. There's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of under 20 and under moms out there that have 1 or more kids. And you just told them. And you're telling them because you want the government. You want Trump to raise the age to buy any firearm to 21. Now, look, again, I'm going to be a little crude here. Let me tell you something, you Billy badass people on the left that want to comment that if you need a gun to protect yourself, you're not much of a man. Kiss my ass. The crackheads, the bath salt eaters, the meth heads, all these freaks out there that you people make as part of your little voting group, that's the people I'm worried about. You might be living in a basement protected by mom and dad's money and all of this gated community that they live in, but this poor kid who has crackheads and meth heads and people kicking in doors because they're so hopped up on drugs, they just need to steal your TV or whatever it is, and if you're in the way, they're taking you out also. You don't want them to have protection. Don't give me this, oh, I'm a badass because I use my hands if I need to protect myself. I'll tell you something, I'm 50 years old. I'm too old to use my hands anymore. I will put a bullet in your ass quick if you break into my house. I'm not trying to try to convince somebody how tough of a guy I am. I'm not trying to. I'm going to defend my family as efficiently as I can. And it's going to be with one of those things hanging on the wall over there. You come in my house, we're not going to fist fight, Big Daddy. That's not happening. I'm too old to fight anymore. And I wouldn't have fought you 30 years ago. I'd have put a bullet in your ass then too if you broke into my house and threatened my family. So don't give me this crap from the left that, oh, you're not much of a man. If that's how, I am way more of a man than you are. Because you know what? I thought ahead. I thought enough to know what could potentially happen. I thought of a worst case scenario. When a crackhead breaks into your house, Mr. Soy Boy on the left, when they kick your door in and you go hiding in the clothes hamper to leave your wife and your kid in the living room up front to fend for themselves because you're too much of a coward to do anything because it just hit you, I got nothing to defend myself with. That's what's going to happen to you. I know it's a good game to talk, and you guys like, the ones on the left like to talk about that, how much of a tough guy they are. Oh, if you need a gun to protect yourself, you're not much of a man. Nobody's buying that. Nobody's buying that. That just tells me if you feel like you live in a community that you would never need any kind of a firearm to protect you or your family, number one, you're not doing a proper job of taking care of your family. Because in my opinion, if you truly want to protect your family, you should have a firearm in that home. I'm serious. I'm being totally honest with you. I don't care if you live in a gated community. There's crackheads that live in gated communities. Think of all these kids out there, like these liberals, who are living in these basements out there, who don't have a job. They're 25 years old. They're coke heads. They're going to school indefinitely. They get hopped up on some bad coke one night, and they want to fight everybody or kill somebody. That's in gated communities. So don't tell me how a person with a gun in their home is somehow or another not man enough. To me, that's way more of a man. That's a sign of maturity because you just showed me that you are now prepared for a worst case scenario, and no matter what happens, no matter what comes through that door, you are prepared for it. You are more of a man, and even if you're a woman, you're more of a woman than anybody else that I can see out there on the left that somehow or another wants to disarm you and make you helpless and put your family at risk. That's my honest to God opinion. That's why I will argue with anyone, it is not right to raise that age to 21 for somebody to purchase a firearm. You look at the number of kids out there between the age of 18 and under 21, 18, 19, and 20 years old, who are living on their own. I was living on my own by the time I was 19. I had a gun, thankfully. But you look at how many are out there. It ain't just thousands. I'll bet you there's 1 million kids out there who are living on their own. And very few of those kids, very few of them, unless they have very, very rich parents, very few of them are living in safe enough communities where they have absolutely nothing to worry about. It's irresponsible to expect them to not have a way to protect their family. And I'll promise you this, I'll bet you can pull some statistics up. And I'll bet you can find some of those 18, 19, and 20-year-old kids whose homes are getting broken into, where their wives are getting raped, their kids are getting beaten, they're getting robbed and beaten in their own homes because they don't have protection like that already. Just the ones that have the ability to buy now and they can't do that. Go pull those statistics up. You're not going to hear those stats from a Democrat because not enough people are getting killed for them to care. So that's not, you're never going to hear that. You'll have to dig and find those stats yourself. I'm going to see if I can find something like that. I'm going to see if I can find stats based on age. But you know what's going to happen? The pictures are going to be muddied up. The numbers are going to get muddied up because you know what's going to make up 18, 19, and 20-year-olds? Gangs, gang activity. So you're going to have to decipher, was that an innocent mom sitting at her home on a weekend and somebody busted in and killed her? Or was it a bunch of thugs in Chicago who were shooting each other up over the weekend? Unfortunately, that's what we're going to find when we try to pull up murders by age. We're going to find a bunch of gangbangers that are shooting each other. So maybe that is an impossible number to pull up. Quite possibly is. Some of the other things that I'm seeing, and we're just about out of time, guys. I know I'm keeping y'all on here for for an hour here, just talking about the same thing. Some of the other things that I'm seeing them propose, again, the age limit there. Rick Scott has already said you're going to have to be 21 years old to purchase a gun. Unfortunately, guys, I'm a Trump supporter, and Trump has said he's open to changing the age. I think that's a mistake. I think that is a big mistake, and I don't think it's right, and I think it's very unconstitutional. I think it's not right to take somebody's constitutional rights away because of their age. I don't think that's right. Obviously, bump stocks, I told you guys, and I've been telling you all along, something's going to happen with bump stocks. Something's going to happen with bump stocks. I am sad to say that I heard Marco Rubio, which Marco Rubio is a rhino. Marco Rubio has never been a red-blooded Republican or conservative. But now Rubio is considering magazine capacity ban, 10-round magazines. That's sad to see, but you're going to start seeing that push. They're also talking about their comprehensive background checks. The buzzword for comprehensive background checks, that's their feel-good way of trying to say 90% of Americans support comprehensive background checks. What they mean is when they say background checks, an average person thinks, well, yeah, I support background checks because we have them and they work. If the people doing them do their job, I should say. Comprehensive background checks is the left's way of saying we don't want you to have private sales. We don't want you to be able to gift a gun to somebody. We don't want you to be able to give your gun to your son. We don't want you to inherit a firearm from one of your parents if they pass away. That's their way of saying that every transfer of a gun, whether it be a gift, a private sale, or anything like that, that it has to have a background check tied to it. And I do not support that. Do not support that. I do not think that if I want to give a gun to my son, that he should have to go down, he and I both should have to go down to the local gun store and pay for, which basically ends up being an additional tax something that is a gift. I should not have to do that. I do not support that. The people that are aimed at for doing that, what they're trying to do is limit the illegal sale of guns. So you're going to tell me that when you pass a law saying that Junebug over here can't give this gun or sell this gun out of the trunk of a car in downtown Chicago to somebody else that wants to buy a gun illegally, oh crap, you just messed up Junebug's whole economy. Now he can't sell guns illegally anymore because now he's supposed to have a transfer, a legal transfer. Now he's got to go down and do a 4473. Dang it. You just messed up his whole source of income. Because now he's got to follow the law. Now in order to sell his illegal guns, he's got to fill out background checks. Do you realize how much you messed up this man's business? His revenue stream is shot. That's how stupid it is. It does nothing but tax you and me. And once again, the criminal continues to do whatever he wants to do, however he wants to do it, and nothing happens. In fact, you cowards in these court systems don't throw the book at these guys like you're supposed to that use guns and gun crimes already. Is that just another crime that you're not going to charge them with whenever they get caught doing it? Guys, I know I've been ranting. I need to turn my AC back on because I'm so friggin' hot right now. This has been an awful week. I will tell you this. Watch out for next week. I've had people tell me that, oh, they're not coming after AR-15s. Stop being stupid. Don't be stupid. Don't let your guard down. You know why? Let me give you a little hint. You know why it's been awfully quiet? I know I just said how crazy it's been this week. But in terms of Washington, D.C., outside of Trump, it's been pretty quiet this week, hasn't it? It's been real quiet, hasn't it? All you've been hearing from is Donald Trump and all the people down in Florida. You're not hearing from anybody else. You hadn't heard from Chuck Schumer this week, have you? You hadn't heard from Dianne Feinstein this week. You know why you hadn't heard from them? Because they're not in Washington, D.C. this week. They're off this week. Guess when they return? This Monday. You want to see stuff start happening with guns next week? Monday morning. Get ready. It starts next week. Dianne Feinstein and all the regular players will be back in Washington, D.C. next week. That's when the storm is going to start. You want to see stuff happen? They're back. And don't think they've been sitting at their little offices back in their own hometowns this week, just twiddling their thumbs. They're getting ready. They're coming back next week with bills, and I promise you, mark my words, an AR-15 ban is the first thing that they're going to propose next week. It's coming. I'm telling you it's coming. Most likely from Dianne Feinstein, but it's coming next week. So don't be fooled by the lull this week and all the activity just being out of Florida. It's coming next week. These people are so lazy and they care so little about mass shootings. None of them stayed in Washington to try to elicit any kind of bills and write bills and put them through. Yeah, they're that lazy. They care so much about Americans that they still went and took their vacations the week after a mass shooting like that because, hey, I had vacations planned. That's how little they care about people being killed. But they'll be back next week, and now they'll be caring again because they're back on the job again. So look out for next week. Guys, I appreciate you guys, as always, tuning in with us. I'm going to go back through in a little bit and look at all you guys' comments in here. I want to go in here and find out, look and see exactly what things you guys have to say. You know, I see you guys have a whole lot of different things on here that you're wanting to talk about. I'm watching the comments rotate through, and I apologize that I have not been able to address any of these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through here. I'm going to shut the live stream off. I'm going to try to scroll through here, maybe even take my computer downstairs and see if I can answer as many of these as I can. I totally appreciate you guys hanging out with us. It really means a lot to me when y'all do it. I do think we're in it together, guys. I do think that, you know, I'm not one of these rabble-rousers. I'm not going to tell you to load up your AR-15 and go down to the state capitol. But what I will tell you is don't let your guard down because the left is coming after their guns. Our guns, those AR-15s, that is ultimately what they want. They want the AR-15. They're already saying they don't care about the bump stock ban. That's too little too late. We want AR-15s. It's coming, guys. Next week. Watch out. Thanks again, guys. I look forward to seeing you guys every Friday night. We're going to try to start doing this earlier on Friday nights instead of doing my normal 10:30 thing. It's just a little bit too late for me. So I'm going to try to start doing these a little bit sooner on Friday nights if I can. So hopefully more of you guys can kind of hang out with us. Again, always appreciate it. A lot of respect to you guys. We will catch up with you all next time.